You're already a successful farmer, but what if you could dig a little deeper? To take in a wealth of knowledge on topics like farm profitability, grain marketing, leadership skills, and more. Build your knowledge, strengthen your foundation, and move from experienced to expert. Welcome to GrowU.
As a farmer, you know how important soil and water are to growing a good crop and for keeping your land productive for the next generation. I'm really passionate about helping farmers find solutions to keep them profitable and productive, but also protect our water quality. I'm Jessica D'Ambrosio, the Ohio Agriculture Project Director for the Nature Conservancy. Today I'm going to talk to you about how you can take conservation practices to the next level to protect water quality, reduce your risk to changing weather, and see a return on that investment across the acre. You may be wondering why the Nature Conservancy works with farmers and is a part of this series. To me, it's pretty hard to argue that agricultural land isn't land upon which all life depends, and you depend on soil and water for the next generation to grow food, fiber, fuel for all of us. So how can you integrate conservation into your farm management goals? There are so many choices when it comes to conservation practices that it can feel overwhelming when thinking about where to start or how to go to the next level. When you view the farm as a whole system, it creates a lot of options to incorporate conservation into your production goals or economic goals and to find success. Today, we're going to focus on in-the-field conservation opportunities, because that is where you as a farmer have the most control, and these are the practices that can have the most direct impact on your input costs and your revenue. Plus, the same conservation practices that you choose for protecting water quality also help get better soil that helps you feed your crops, manage moisture, and sequester soil carbon. So where do we start? There are 3 general conservation concepts that have been scientifically proven to provide benefits for building soil health, reducing your risk to changing weather, and improving water quality. First, cover the bare soil and have a living root for much or all of the year. Second, only minimally disturb the soil, or don't disturb the soil at all if you can. Third, increase the efficiency of your fertilizer and manure use and application. There are a variety of ways that you can choose to implement these concepts that can be tailored to your operation and to the equipment you already own. The most common practices to achieve these conservation goals that you might have heard about or already are using are cover crops, diversifying crop rotations, using minimal tillage or no tillage at all, and the 4 R's of nutrient management and efficient application, using the right source of nutrient at the right rate, at the right time, and in the right place. All of these practices can be done independently if you're just starting out, or they can be combined and stacked if you're looking to go to the next level. So where do you go next? Well, let's see where you can align these 3 conservation concepts with your own production or operation goals in a focused and stepwise way. In other words, let's get specific on the goal you want to reach, start small, and then keep building on what you already have. Some areas you can create goals around that might be particularly relevant to soybean growers today include the following 4 items: weed pressure and suppression, reducing fertilizer costs, reducing soil compaction and fuel costs, and identifying and diversifying additional revenue streams beyond just revenue from yield. So let's talk about 3 really simple examples of how you can integrate conservation concepts to meet farm operation goals using actual data from real soybean farms in Ohio. Now would be a good time to get out your workbook, and we'll walk through the examples together. The first example is the nutrient management efficiency example. Fertilizer prices are super high right now, but so are crop prices. So use the data you already have at your disposal to reduce input costs and boost productivity. Your goals here can be to reduce your fertilizer input costs by getting more efficient on your nutrient application, and increasing average field productivity and overall farm value by rethinking those problem areas with low fertility. Use your yield maps and your soil tests, data you or your agronomists already have and are collecting to identify efficiencies and inefficiencies, and implement your voluntary nutrient management plan together. Also, you might be able to gain new revenue sources through cost-share programs of nutrient management like H2 Ohio, or your local county farm service agency or natural resources conservation programs. In our second example, we're going to talk about cover crops, and so I'll be referring to some tables and some charts that are in your workbook. Your goals for cover crops might be to reduce weed pressure, suppress weeds, and thereby reduce chemical program costs, reduce your overall fertilizer costs, and also identify and diversify additional revenue streams beyond just revenue from yield. The most commonly suggested starting point for using cover crops is cereal rye going into beans. Cereal rye is easy to apply, it overwinters, and it's relatively easy to terminate. Soybeans fix their own nitrogen, so coupling them with a grass makes a lot of sense when you're just getting started. In the table in your workbook, I show you additional costs for the cereal rye cover crop, which include planting and seed cost, and also your termination costs. I'm assuming that you use common chemicals and equipment. I'm also not taking into account the people time and the fuel time to apply the cover crop, but with experience, you can gain efficiencies in timing and management. So, using 2021 prices in Ohio, a cereal rye cover crop would cost you about $38 per acre. In the next table in your workbook, I provide you the nutrient profile of cereal rye at different growth stages and as terminated. This represents the maximum potential nutrients that would be available to your cash crop if you used a cereal rye cover crop. If you're just a beginner, I would recommend terminating the cover crop at 12 inches and lightly tilling it into the soil. If you're looking to go to the next level, let it grow a little longer to get more biomass and nutrients into your soil. And if you're really looking to go to the next level, you can plant green into rye and save even more on your chemical costs and your equipment passes in the field. So let's assume that nutrient, all of that nutrient, was available to the crop. With current fertilizer prices, you can see how just cereal rye in the rotation can pay for itself and can even potentially start paying you through reduced fertilizer costs. If you're looking to go to the next level, rather than terminate and lightly till the cover crop into the soil, you could use a roller crimper and lay over that rye to further suppress weeds and save even more money on your chemical program. This helps to reduce your soil disturbance and compaction even more. If you're looking to diversify your revenue using a cover crop, we are assuming the same yield results here, but there may be some transition time with a switch like this in the first few years. You can absorb a small yield drag without any financial support based on the current prices in this specific example, but there are Farm Bill programs, H2 Ohio state funding, and crop insurance premium rebates that you can access to help you cover the costs of starting with cover crops, so your planting, seeding, and termination costs would be covered for multiple years. If you're looking to go to the next level, this practice can sequester 0.5 ton per acre of soil carbon, and that may have value to you and a supply chain company in a carbon market. And if you're really looking to go to the next level, you might have moved beyond just cereal rye to diverse mixes of cover crops, and maybe you can harvest, clean, and sell that cover crop seed, or even offer custom application or rent your roller crimper to your neighbors for a different revenue stream. And now in the third example, we're going to walk through a stepwise approach to stacking conservation practices. Here's the scenario. A soybean farmer is considering switching to no-till and then cover crops, but is not sure if that'll work. They selected a 42-acre field to try it out ahead of soybeans. So first, start with the cash crop and put down all your input costs for growing soybeans. List out your fertility costs, your planting and harvesting costs, your weed suppression and chemical costs. You can also include your time and fuel costs. Next, add in your revenue. Typically, that's the amount you earn per bushel of soybeans harvested. And then you'll compare your budget with and without incentives and cost-share programs. Track the changes to both costs and revenues for each management decision to get a better picture of whether conservation can pay you back. In this example, the farmer penciled out soybean fertility, planting, and harvesting costs in the gray boxes. His herbicide and pesticide costs were in the orange boxes, and his conservation practice costs are in the purple boxes. He also added in his incentive or cost share costs in the blue boxes, and his revenue from soybeans is in the green boxes. As he switched from conventional tillage to no tillage, his yield stayed the same. However, his input costs started to shift. Overall, he realized a small increase in net income with the same yield. When he factored in a cost share incentive payment, his net income per acre increased even more. But he didn't need that to start seeing a benefit to his bottom line. When he added in a cereal rye cover crop to his no-till beans, his input costs for the cash crop didn't change, of course, but his input costs for herbicide and pesticide went down due to the presence of the cover crop. He combined his cover crop application and fertilizer application to save even more, and he saw an additional per acre net income increase, adding in the cover crop to his no-till field, even without any incentives or rebates. So let's summarize the balances. If your goal is saving soil and reducing erosion, when growing soybeans, switching from conventional tillage to minimal or no tillage system reduces your cash crop operating costs, but may mean your weed management costs can go up. Overall, this farmer saw a $12 per acre savings. Your goal might also include better weed suppression or reducing your chemical costs. If so, you can add in a cover crop such as cereal rye. That didn't change any operational cost to growing soybeans. The cereal rye helped suppress weeds and was applied with fertility, so an even bigger cost savings was found. The cost of seed did come into play, but you can still see an additional $7 to $8 per acre increase once you start stacking practices on. Remember, the cover crops can help sequester nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium in soils. This farmer is realizing these increases in net income, and we haven't even taken into account any benefit that the cover crop is giving to his fertility and what's in the soil. There could be even more input cost savings to be had here. We also haven't factored in the co-benefits of reducing or eliminating tillage and adding cover crops, and the effect that has on soil structure, moisture management, and beneficial microbiology. All of those together are the improved soil health that will have lasting benefits for you and your children. Reducing tillage reduces the potential for erosion, and adding in cover crops may help your soil hold on to nitrogen and phosphorus to grow your crop. It may even help you get more efficient in how, when, where, and how much you apply fertilizers and manure. And finally, on the revenue side, we covered how changing input costs and adding in incentives and cost share programs helps conservation pay for itself. But these practices also enable you to gain additional revenue in a carbon or ecosystem service market. Considering conservation on your farm and in your management decisions can feel overwhelming, and making changes is scary. Hopefully you've seen a few examples of why it's important to consider conservation to help take your whole farm to the next level. Good luck on your conservation journey.